Hey everybody, and welcome to Final Obsession, the podcast. We're here at the Record Parlor in Los Angeles, California, with the iconic singer-songwriter Debbie Gibson. Debbie just picked out her top 5 vinyl. We're going to take a deep dive into her picks on Final Obsession, the podcast. Hey guys, and welcome to Vinyl Obsession, the podcast. I am Eric Young, and this is Debbie Gibson. Debbie Gibson is a singer-songwriter, producer, and actress. She was only 16 when she released her 1987 debut album, Out of the Blue. The single, Foolish Beat, made Gibson the youngest female artist to write, produce, and perform a #1 single. Gibson continued to release music through the 2000s and also went on to star in several roles on Broadway. What an experience watching you shop for vinyl records.
Thank you. What was it about my
Well, okay, first of all, you love it. You love vinyl like I do. You love music like I do. But watching you light up and sing all these songs and these memories and stuff, and you've said something that's been a really cool thing on this podcast and on the show that's been a through line. It's learning music when you're younger from your sisters or your brother or your mother or your aunt, and that's almost apparent in everyone's story. I think it's you're so young and impressionable, and that's where you start to develop your musical taste.
Yeah, I mean, my mom and my dad always played Motown and doo-wop in the house.
Right.
And I guess it's like the same as, parents now playing 80s and 90s, and right? So that was just what they grew up with. And when I came into my own musical taste, it was like theater for me, Broadway. And I don't know how and where and when and why. I heard these piano men, but Liberace, Billy Joel, Elton John, all favorites. And I always did play the piano, and I was composing music from a very early age. So I was aware of the credits. I was aware of who wrote their own songs. Maybe oddly, like I say that now, and I'm like, it's kind of odd that I knew that. But I'm sure the liner notes had something to do with that. Yeah. And then my older sisters were more to the rock side, a little more to, pop rock, but Genesis, Foreigner, Yes, Soft Cell. I remember they had that album. And our tastes also crossed over a bit. So it was cool to kind of have to go to ask your older sister to borrow, an album, an item of clothing, like it. And I think that like my tastes weren't exactly like theirs, but I wanted to be like them. So I wanted to listen to what they were listening to.
They're your older sisters.
They're my older sisters. And I'm sure it opened me up to a lot of things I might not have necessarily listened to. I love that. So
now we're going to go through the 5, deep dive on these selections.
Okay.
No particular order. Pull them out of the bag one at a time.
Oh my goodness. I'm saving that one for last.
All right. Final number 1.
Okay. Well, this one I discovered today because I was looking for Just the Live at the Palace box set, but I found this and I thought, wow, there might be other live performances that I hadn't heard before. But these songs like, that's entertainment. It's like, she was like to the rock and roll side of theater, in my opinion, because she left it all on the floor. She was not,
let it all pour out.
Like she was going to break a sweat, and Zing Went the Strings of My Heart. I mean, all these songs, When You're Smiling, The Man That Got Away, like I can't wait to hear Come Rain or Shine. Yeah, she just, the whole thing ends with Over the Rainbow. Talk about sequencing.
Right.
The listener's staying around for side 6, right? Like, we're going to play it straight through to Over the Rainbow, and people leaving on that emotional note. Could you imagine having been in that theater that she was ending a concert with Over the Rainbow?
Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly.
Wow, and what a gorgeous picture.
Yeah.
Like, I was always into the packaging too. I mean, this is beautiful, the way it's very simple in the way it opens, and it's a 3 record, 6 sides, 3 records, I guess. Yeah.
Now, with Judy, someone that was, you heard her voice and emulated or, patterned yourself after, like an inspiration for you when you first time you heard Judy Garland?
I wouldn't say I patterned myself after her, only because nobody was ever going to sound like Judy.
Okay.
But like seeing The Wizard of Oz, as a theater kid, was like, oh my God, who is this magical little girl with this big voice and this rawness to her. That's what I was trying to say. I think it's like she has a rawness about her, for as controlled as her voice is, and it's in this beautiful placed, like technically perfect placement. It's also always like she's walking a tightrope, right? Like a high wire.
Yep.
So I think that's what people really loved about her passion and her connection. But I think what I got from her was the fact that as a vocalist, you should sound unique and like nobody else.
Yeah.
Like nobody was ever going to emulate her and be better than her at her.
Yeah.
So that was inspirational to me.
Yeah.
Look at her. She has such an ownership of herself. No stylist put that look together.
That's
You
her
know
choice.
that. This is her.
Yeah. This is Final Obsession, the podcast, and we're back with Debbie Gibson. Vinyl number 2.
Why don't I go for Carole next? I think I picked Carole, didn't I? Yes, I did. Because I had never seen this record before with this beautiful montage of pictures of her.
It's compelling, just the picture.
It really is, from like different stages of her career. And so when I looked at the Taylor Swift album and I looked at this Carole King album, it's like, I am proud to be part of this lineage of these women who really, like Rob Sheffield wrote about me in Rolling Stone 2 years ago with my latest pop album.
Yep.
And he talked about being that little girl with feelings, writing about feelings up in the bedroom, and that was a thing. That was its own thing. And every generation had an artist or two who did that, you know. And Carole King, man, I mean, So Far Away. Are you kidding me? Talk about songs, like as a writer, you always hear songwriters say, I wish I wrote that song, or could I? Like So Far Away is such an unbelievable concept. Like, in Silver Linings Playbook, when Jennifer Lawrence says,
Yes.
I don't like change. It's so simple. Who likes when people move away?
Yeah.
So far away, doesn't anybody stay in one place anymore?
You're so far away. Doesn't anybody stay in one place anymore?
But it's just so incredible. I feel the earth move. I mean, she didn't just write love songs either. She really, she was like the ultimate bohemian, just hippie chic singer-songwriter. Look at her. She has such an ownership of herself. No stylist put that look together.
That's her
You know
choice.
that. This is her.
Yeah.
It's her through and through. The music.
It's an excellent choice.
Thank you.
Vinyl number 3.
Oh, Madonna. She just nailed the being dangerous and scandalous enough that little kids wanted to,
It's forbidden.
it was a little forbidden. And yet it was still kind of PG-13.
Yep.
Palatable.
Rode that line.
She rode that line so beautifully. And to this day, talking about, we talk about Judy Garland's voice and Madonna's voice. To me, Madonna is as great as Judy Garland in that Madonna took her own voice and perfected the heck out of it without losing the originality. The rough edges, too, became such a part of it. And when I see and hear clips of her on her current tour, I'm like, she sounds amazing. Because it is the best, fullest version of her voice. And when she went and did Evita, she trained with my voice teacher in Manhattan, Joan Lader. She went and did Evita. She's the thing I've always loved about her, and everyone loves her. She made something of herself. I mean, she did it. Nobody did this for her.
She was going to do it one way or the other.
Yes.
Figure it
And
out.
she stretched to the edges of,
Yeah.
she was not born the best singer. She was not born the best. She was like, I'm going to be it. I'm just going to be it. The ambition was everything with her.
Like you said, her voice wasn't like what people would say is powerhouse or even typical, but she figured out her sound and her voice and did it.
Well, her voice wasn't. Her voice was. And by the way, my voice does this too. When I go into a Broadway mode and I'm living like a monk to hit notes a certain way, I sound like a certain thing.
Yes.
But generally speaking, I have an edgier quality because I always have adrenaline coursing through my body. And it's really not your friend always as a vocalist. But you know what? Everybody has adrenaline running through their bodies. And everyone has emotional days. And so I've learned if you can allow all of that and you don't go for that perfection and that evenness, the connection with your audience gets that much deeper. There's a vulnerability and a level of, again, I'm going to dare to show you and to connect with you. And that's what Madonna always did so beautifully. As an artist, when I get to the end of a show, I'm usually like, I'm ready to start the show because you're so warmed up and everything is just firing on all cylinders.
Yep.
That was always the starting place.
Welcome back to Vinyl Obsession, the podcast. Today, we have singer and actress Debbie Gibson talking about her top 5 vinyl. Next one.
All right.
Vinyl number 4.
Because this is Thriller. I mean, come on. I'm just reading Want to Be Starting Something. I mean, oh my God.
One after another.
One after another. Thriller, Beat It, Billie Jean, Human Nature. I mean, and it's not a lot of, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like usually I went for 11, 12 songs, 13 songs. 9 tight, bullseye, hit it out of the park songs. And this gorgeous picture. Hold on, take that out. This gorgeous picture. I mean, and the little leopard, just noticing that. Little leopard handkerchief in his pocket. Unbelievable. And what a marriage, Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson. I mean, perfection.
Yeah.
Something came on. I was in the car the other day with some friends and something came on and it's like Quincy's productions were like a Tetris puzzle. I mean, they were very simple, but so well. I mean, everything just fit and wove and it was just so magical. And Michael's voice, as an artist, when I get to the end of a show, I'm usually like, I'm ready to start the show because you're so warmed up and everything is just firing on all cylinders.
Yep.
That was always his starting place.
Yeah.
And I think people love that about him. Yep. And he was open and vulnerable within that, but it was like he was just, it's like, if you get technical, it's like his diaphragm was so pumped up that everything was just flying out of his mouth. It's like he had just run for miles and everything was just, nothing was ever stuck. You know, everything was so, it was reaching us. It was reaching the listener's ear and penetrating our souls.
And everything he did, like dancing and showmanship, and dressed. And I mean, he was the whole package, right? From start to finish.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he just invested so much in his art and he cared so much about his audience being surprised and thrilled. I did get to meet him several times and he put me in his Liberian Girl video, which was unbelievable. And he was just as sweet as everybody would think. And, you know.
That's awesome.
So
iconic album, iconic artist.
So sad he's gone, but so grateful that, like, I think about this all the time. So grateful that I got to be on the planet. I'm sure we all are grateful for that. At the same time that we got to witness this greatness in real time.
Yeah, and I've said this story on the podcast one other time, but I'll say it to you too, because it's, what you're saying is really interesting. Is I'm obviously not a vocalist or a musician. Me being here is because I love music, but something I loved Michael Jackson when I was a kid, and I had a concert of his from Berlin, and my other job is I'm a professional wrestler, and I steal things from him, and how he would come out in moments and knew when to be still and not move, and could just get people to
Yes.
sit right there or a look to the side just at
Bring
the right
people
time.
in.
And just, ooh, like, you couldn't help. And I steal things from, I wore that VHS out.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
I
And
love that you took that
he,
from him.
how he touched so many people in so many industries because he was a master of all things.
Yes.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And above else, he was
Unfair,
above
really.
all else too. He was a humanitarian. I mean, he really did want to bring people together.
Yeah,
You know.
you could hear it in his writing,
Yeah.
in his music. Yeah, beautiful.
Amazing.
Excellent choice.
Amazing. And he has the tone of a sarcastic Long Island guy.
Yeah.
And he never lost it.
Yep.
And you knew he played in those piano bars.
Welcome back to Vinyl Obsession, the podcast. We're taking a look at singer Debbie Gibson's top vinyl picks. Vinyl number 5.
Okay, last but definitely not least, Billy. 52nd Street was the first album of Billy's I bought, and I feel like it was because of, can't remember if Big Shot came out first or My Life came out first, but you know, that's when Billy was big on the radio.
Yep.
And again, I was a radio fanatic. And I think there was something about, first of all, I was playing piano, so I wanted to imitate, you know, I could sit down right now and play
That's
My
part
Life.
of the draw for him.
Part of the draw for me.
Yeah.
To harken back to the Ahmet Ertegun conversation, his tone, and to this day, he has, because I'm from Long Island, and he has the tone of a sarcastic Long Island guy.
Yeah.
And he never lost it.
Yep.
And you knew he played in those piano bars. Like, I'm a big Gavin DeGraw fan.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And Gavin doesn't sound as sarcastic as Billy, but has that, what's the word? That, again, I'm going to use this word ambition. Like, you know that Gavin had to, like, get people's attention with that tone in a piano bar at some point.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he really, like, I don't know that story, but it's that he has that, right? That hunger,
Yep.
right? Billy always had that. And I always loved his storytelling. I've always been visual and theatrical, and I always loved that, you know, Anthony worked at the grocery store. We have all, you know, Moving Out the musical. It's like they were able to create something based on all these characters. And I've always loved to this day, and I can't think of a ton of artists that have done it, but like Queen did it. He just doesn't follow form.
Yeah.
You know,
his own thing.
He does his own thing.
Yep.
There's some tempo change and some key change and some gorgeous interlude, like scenes from an Italian restaurant. It's theatrical.
Yeah. There's no mistaking when you hear it too.
No.
Right. That's Billy Joel.
Right. So Big Shot,
Big Shot,
My Life,
Honesty,
Honesty,
My Life.
Honesty. I mean,
Zanzibar, like you
Zanzibar's
said.
a favorite.
Stiletto.
Stiletto.
We've got Rosalinda's Eyes.
Oh yeah.
Half Mile Away. 52nd Street. Until the Night.
Until the Night. I feel like he still does Until the Night. I saw him at the Garden.
Now, part of the
That's
draw
true.
for him is that, I've said this before, is like a geographical thing where, like, you're from that area, same area as him, so you have
Yeah.
these same kind of sensibilities, and you can hear in his voice that he's an East Coaster, you're an East Coaster. So is there a draw there? Because
There is. I mean, look, like I've
You're gonna be
grown,
drawn to it
I've grown
anyways,
to
but-
love Bruce Springsteen as well, and I've always loved Elton, and Elton's, you know, British. But, you know, there is something to, like, again, I was able to go to Billy's piano teacher, you know, and oh, there's Billy's Cold Spring Harbor house where he wrote Cold Spring Harbor. So yeah, there is that draw. And I did see him when I was 8 years old. My dad bought scalp tickets to get me 14th row. I remember the row, and I think he paid like $82. It was something like that, a ticket, which at that time was like
a lot.
paying $8,000. And especially for, you know, my parents did not have money, but he got me those tickets. I might cry. And I'll never forget it. You know, he's just, the other thing you know, all of these artists have in common for me, and I never saw Carole live. I think I saw her at like a benefit do a song or two, but they're all amazing live. Like, the whole purpose of making a record is to get to perform it live.
Yeah.
And I think so much of the purpose of buying a record is to get to see that artist perform it live.
Yeah. This has been amazing. This
Thank
is an
you.
unbelievable list.
Thank
I
you.
think you've got another 35 albums out there. Is there anything you want to talk about, get out there, promote, and let the people know what's coming up for you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, this year, like I said, it's the 35th anniversary of the Electric Youth album, which is really meaningful. Lost in Your Eyes just had its 35th anniversary. And, you know, so we're celebrating that. I'm celebrating that in my world. I've just started writing my book, which is wild. My therapist is on speed dial for that. Because you're just unzipping yourself. You're just like trying, I'm somebody who likes to move forward. I reflect a little, but I don't live in the past. So it's kind of daunting to go back and really trying to create pictures and details. And so working on that. And, you know, if people are not familiar with my most recent work, I'd point you in the direction of The Body Remembers, the album that I released 2 years ago. Winterlicious, my holiday album. I'll be touring on that again at the end of the year. I will hope to make that a yearly holiday thing.
Guys, this has been Vinyl Obsession. I'm Eric Young. She is Debbie Gibson. I'm obsessed, she's obsessed, and now you're obsessed too.